Mike, and welcome to Retro Boost. It's finally time to talk about my 4.0 console setup. This has been a long time coming, put a lot of time into it. I spent a lot of time acquiring parts. That was like the biggest reason for how long this took. It's been like probably 6+ months back from last month, so 7 months of acquiring parts and planning out the setup and trying to apply what I've learned through all the previous revisions of what works, what's best for my needs as a content creator. So it's been a process, and I'm happy to finally be able to share it now today. So I'll be talking about the 4.0 console setup, go over like how it's put together, what I did as far as organizing, why I did, what parts I'm using, all that good stuff. Extron is still like the core of my setup. I love my Extron switches. There's a couple of new things in there. Some of it is geared toward me being a content creator to create efficiency for how I have to get capture. So not everything here is like, applicable or even recommended for what you may do, but if you draw any inspiration from it, then great. That's the whole point of me sharing this, is to show it off, see what people think, help them get ideas. Give me ideas, though. I want it to be a two-way thing. A lot of great stuff has happened on like the comments in these videos, teaching me things and people sharing things, especially in the Discord server. There is a official Retro Boost Discord server, and we share all kinds of stuff there. I keep people updated on like what I'm doing, and like when a video is almost done, share some stuff. And with the console stuff, we've shared console setup things, controllers we like, and it's been great. Because the other big thing about 4.0, it's not just the cable management and how things are run together, but also the controller of choice is a big part of this. So let's quickly recap console setups 1 through 3 before talking about the big 4.0. Console Collection 1.0 was how my consoles were when the channel first began, and for years prior. Everything kind of condensed onto this one AV rack. Everything was composite except for a couple of consoles that were using component, and then I managed it all by having them run into two different, pretty generic and affordable little AV switches. And that's how it always was. I did make a video like talking about it, but I never released that video because I knew that would change like so quickly, and I discovered stuff like RetroTINK and the existence of brands like HD Retrovision, so like I kind of thought that it was pointless to make its own video talking about that particular setup. I would rather talk about like that cooler stuff that's out there, which is what happened when I got like Extron switches. Like I made a video about the Extron switches, and that kind of became my 2.0 console setup, where Extron became the main means of routing all the cabling and everything, and I stopped using those other AV switches that I was using in the past, which I talked about all that stuff in that video, because those are still good alternatives for a more simple setup, or for someone just wants something that's more budget friendly. They're perfectly fine. 3.0 was the culmination of having finally acquired like all of the upgraded cabling that I really wanted to try for all these consoles. HD Retrovision component cables for things like the Super Nintendo, the Genesis, getting SCART cabling as an option, and converting it to component with a RGB to comp for consoles like the N64 and the PS1. Not to mention it was a brand new storage solution. It was a big garage rack that I then use little like monitor stands to create more sub-levels within each rack. And then that was the 3.0 setup. The 3.0 setup had like one Achilles heel, which I have fixed in 4.0, and that's the HDMI side of it. So let's now talk about 4.0. Bam! Here it is. 4.0 console setup. Bam! It's there. Take it all in. It's the same storage rack as the 3.0 setup. The biggest difference, though, is we got some new equipment. We got some new equipment for video management, and the wiring methodology is a lot different. So, first and foremost, the new devices. I've got a new HDMI switch. It's an 8-in, 1-out HDMI 2.0 switch. 2.0 was something I really wanted because I wanted to be fully compatible with the RetroTINK 4K if I ever get one down the road. Don't currently have one, but I wanted to be fully compatible. Secondly, I needed something with a lot of ports, because as I do content creation, I have a lot of stuff that I want to keep like ready to go on standby. The RetroTINK 5X Pro, the 2X Pro, the 2X Pro M, the CARBY for the GameCube, the Crestron 5, which I really never use that much, and I should try to use more and talk about because it's a really cool device. My digital consoles like the Wii U, the Switch, PS4, etc. All that comes out of my receiver. So all of that, it works out to be like 7 or 8 inputs. The Rad 2X is another one. So I wanted something that I didn't have to always be swapping and plugging in and swapping cables. I wanted to all be done. So that was one of the biggest things, was finding a Switch that could do all that, and it was very expensive. So that took a while to like kind of save up for and make and get. So that's one of the biggest new things, and it's already been great because I've already filmed capture footage for a comparison video that'll be coming out soon with GameStop's AV to HDMI thing and their component converter, and it was great to just like be sitting at my desk doing capture, letting stuff run, and then like when I'm going to switch over, just click, and it's great. It's already paying for itself. So that's the HDMI part of it. I also added another HDMI switch on the top. It's a Rocketfish 4-in 1-out. That was what I was using with the 3.0 setup. Although I had to swap cabling a lot when I was doing, like, say, a 2X Pro video, stuff like that. I had to swap the cables a lot. I have that there as, like, a backup for if ever I need to run some additional thing, just conveniently. Or if I do, like, add more stuff, I'll have some more ports. It'll create latency, I'm sure, but for the purposes of recording, latency's not too important to me because I'm not trying to do high-level gameplay while I record capture, unless that's the point. So, just one more means of extra inputs for backup purposes. The Extron switches are still like the center of the whole equation, running everything through. Got that brand new, fancy, nice Retro Boost logo there. Very happy with that. It's pretty cool to have some like tangible, physical stuff of the channel's branding in real life. Gotta love that. I don't have any labels on the inputs anymore. I'm gonna get them though. I just gotta buy another set of those same labels I was using before. They were great. They got them off of Etsy. I need to get those again. I had to take them all off because the inputs of all the consoles have completely changed. Before, I kind of had it organized by release date, like they went from oldest to newest, basically, from top to bottom. But that wasn't the case this time around. They're more random in that sense, so I had to take those labels off, but I will be adding more. The other new thing here would be the SCART Switch that I'm using. This is a way to free up more inputs on the Extron switches for if I want to add more analog consoles. This is the Retro Gaming Cable's 5X Pro SCART Switch. I bought it to try out, and I also knew that I would probably want it for the 4.0 setup, like way back, like November, December last year. I didn't really get to use it until putting it here. But all my SCART-capable consoles run into this currently. The Super Nintendo, N64, and PS1. Plus, if I ever get like a Sega Saturn down the road, or I could even like convert using component for SCART for like the Dreamcast. It's 6 additional inputs that I can then free up on the Extron switches. It then uses a RGB to comp, which is supposed to be input lag and latency free. That then wires into my bottom Extron switch as one of those inputs. The top one also wires in as an input. So 2 of the inputs on the bottom Extron are being used for these other sources, the 5X Pro switch, the SCART switch. It's not like 5X Pro in this situation, but the SCART switch and the top Extron switch. Now from there, like before, the Extron switch then outputs. I use all 4 of its outputs are in use. They run to my different RetroTINK devices. The 5X Pro, the 2X Pro, the 2X Pro M, and a blank spot for the RetroTINK 4K, which I hope to get eventually, but the spot, video, power, and HDMI are all run there for that spot. I was just using that spot for the GameStop converter, so I'm almost thinking, it's not so bad if I never get a RetroTINK 4K, because I got this spot here that I can just use for whatever. It's kind of convenient as far as I do these comparison videos. The other big new thing is how everything's organized, and this speaks to how the RetroTINK devices are all kind of sitting there. I got pegboards, these metal pegboards. I bought like a pack of them every few weeks until I had enough, and that became the backbone for how the wiring is supported. I used double-sided, like garage-rated adhesive to stick all the devices, like the RetroTINKs and so on, to the pegboard, and then zip ties as anchor points for the cables to cross. No cables on this thing are actually zip tied together. Rather, zip ties are like the railway that the cables run across, and I'm using Velcro to loop through the zip tie and stick the cabling into place. That's the biggest organizational thing that changed with 4.0, is the elimination of zip ties for the cables themselves. When I took apart 3.0, there were like 10 pounds worth of zip ties, and it's not like it's a big deal to cut the zip ties, but it is kind of scary to be cutting zip ties and being like, oh man, if I cut this wrong and I pierce this cable, there's $70 plus, you know, with shipping considered, to get this replaced. So everything is now Velcro, and I can easily change it. I also avoided making any kind of loops, just to save like space on the back and just try to make it look a little bit cleaner. So I've run all of the cables, like all their distances have been run out to avoid like looping them in place, to save space, because that also creates a lot of space. When you have a lot of these thick shielded cables and you're making, like, the term would be a service loop for them, like slack looped up, it's pretty fat. Like, it's a lot of space you'd burn up there. So I wanted to avoid doing that, and everything kind of got run out. Additionally, everything comes in and out of the Extron switches from the same side, and that makes it look way cleaner on the back, because 3.0, they kind of came in from the top and bottom, and the outputs also went the opposite way of the inputs, so it was a little chaotic. It was like organized, but kind of chaotically. Now it's very clean, and I'm super happy with how that looks. The back, like the pathways the cables themselves run, is a little messy, but they're all like very neatly together. It's very easy to change and mess with since it's all Velcro versus zip ties. So I'm very happy with the wiring pathways that everything has taken here. I'm very excited. After everything gets to the RetroTINK devices, everything will eventually meet that IO-Gear HDMI switch. All the inputs go in there, and then one output hits an HDMI splitter. The splitter then splits it between going to my Denon receiver so that I can play games and stuff like sitting here on my TV, and then the other path goes to the capture card. And I did that because I'd rather it be split before it goes to the capture card versus using the capture card's output to then go back to the receiver and my TV. The big reason I did that is because I had a lot of like on and off HDMI handshake problems. Over the years, I've had days where I just like turn on something and I get no picture. It's some kind of HDCP issue or just some kind of handshake in general, and I get no picture, and I gotta troubleshoot it and unplug and replug cables and power cycle things. So by splitting it, I'm kind of like just trying to keep the capture card like out of the equation as much as possible, except for what its job is, which is doing capture. And so far, yeah, it's worked. Like, I've had no problems. If you've watched any of our like Retro Boost Arcade content or podcasts where Tori and I talk about Retro Boost Arcade, you'll hear us mention these like hell days where like nothing would work. And we've done multiple sessions on the 4.0 setup, and it's been flawless. No issues. So I think this new method here, I think the biggest thing was having the 2.0 switch definitely helps. The Rocketfish 4-in, 1-out is also a 2.0. I also used to have a, I think it was like Ori Gear or something, 6-in, 2-out Matrix switch, but that one caused a lot of problems for me. That was definitely a cause of a lot of handshake issues. It's HDMI 1.4, and it's also a Matrix switch, so it's like duplicating, and it forced a lot of things to different aspect ratios. Problems all over the place. This current 8-in, 1-out one has been perfect, and I love it. So that's the cabling pathway there. I've really been enjoying how it's all put together. I love how with better organization overall. Like, I'm really happy with how it turned out. I'm really happy with the fact that I don't have any issues with HDMI and handshakes and so on. It's great. Now, the last thing to talk about is the control side, because, you know, I made things more efficient for myself in regard to the video and the output and how I'm splitting things and the organization and freeing up inputs with the Extron switches. But the control aspect is the other new thing. So let's talk about that. I've tried out a lot of controllers on the channel, talking about retro fighters, retro bit, and other stuff. And one thing that I started to kind of really hunger for was, you know, it'd be really great if I had just like one controller that worked for all of this stuff, because as fun as it is to mess around with these other brands, it's also kind of a pain to have like 30 controllers lying around. So one of the coolest things that I picked up from someone on the Retro Boost Discord server was pointing me to 8BitDo as a brand. And I looked into 8BitDo. I already had a couple of adapters that are like compatible with their stuff, the Super Nintendo one mainly. So I decided, okay, let's try them out. Their stuff works for Blue Retro, so I already had like the RetroTINK GameCube adapter. I already had the Super Nintendo adapter by them because I had one of their older controllers. So I bought the 8BitDo Pro 2 and tried that out on my own and on a live stream, a couple live streams actually. I liked it a lot. They also made a different one, the Ultimate Bluetooth. That one seemed like more what I was looking for, like, okay, something that works for everything, and it kind of has like a feel to it that's a universal feel, because the Pro 2 for me really seems like I only want to use that for Super Nintendo, PS1, and maybe N64, NES. I wanted something that kind of had a feel that in my brain is like everything, and the Ultimate Bluetooth seemed to be that. So I tried the Ultimate Bluetooth out, and I really liked it. And then I started buying all of their adapters. And now here we are months later, and that is how we're doing things now. So the Ultimate Bluetooth controller, which the one I got is the one that can switch between Bluetooth and 2.4G, that one, I bought their adapters for every console that I could. The only consoles I don't currently have something for are the Dreamcast, original Xbox, and PS3, but I have since learned that there are some options. Firstly, RetroTINK is releasing a Dreamcast-compatible Blue Retro receiver. I love their N64 and their GameCube one, so I'm definitely going to buy that, and I might just do a video talking about those three devices at once, because they're just so cool, and if you don't know about them, look it up. It's really awesome. I did a video on their N64 one. Super cool stuff. So I'm probably going to grab the Dreamcast one, and then bam, Dreamcast is solved. And I was also informed via a helpful comment that there's a product line called Wingman, or Wingman, that they make like PS3 ones and the Xbox ones. So I think the 8BitDo stuff is compatible with that. Even if it's not, I could use like an Xbox One or PS4 controller on them and still have like a minimal number of controllers for all this stuff. So that's the long-term plan. But the 8BitDo stuff is awesome. So they pair like really easily to these adapters, and you have the ability to map the buttons and create up to 3 mapped profiles. I showed all of this off on a couple of the live streams I've done, the Super Metroid one and the Paper Mario ones, which I'm going to go back and do more of at some point. I'm actually in the process of trying to get my internet changed over to fiber, which I don't currently have as of the time of recording this. Fingers crossed it works out and I can get fiber. That's the biggest barrier to me doing live streams, is my internet's just so inconsistent. I've had days where it's worked and I've had days where it hasn't, and I've tried to stream and it's just been unusable. So I hope that'll really help. So fingers crossed. But I've played a lot with them on those streams, talking about how I like them and what's going on, and showing the mapping software for the 8BitDo stuff. It's really cool. Great controller, love it a lot. Also compatible with the Nintendo Switch. I've used it a little bit for the Switch as well, so it works for more than just the retro stuff. You could use it for a lot of things, PC and Switch. So very cool. Highly recommend checking it out. It's a little expensive, but I got mine on sale. It went on sale for like 10 bucks off, something like that, when I bought it months ago. So keep your eyes out. They do go on sale. Their adapters are pretty affordable, though. They're like between like 15 and 20, 25 bucks, and pairing them and doing updates on them is like stupid easy. Like, they really did a good job with their user interfaces for these products. I love it. So 8BitDo has become the backbone for the control aspect of the 4.0 console setup, whereas Extron is like the core for managing all the console's inputs and outputs, and RetroTINK is the great savior source at the end that makes the picture so much better. The 5X Pro has gotten more firmware updates since I last talked about it. I got to redo all my profiles, so I might do like some kind of either another profile video or like a profile stream maybe, because there's been some changes in the PS2 stuff. Has gotten a little bit better, so there's cool stuff to consider there, so I might be doing that. So yeah, there we go. There's the 4.0 console setup overview. Velcro. That's if you're gonna take anything from this, Velcro. Do Velcro. Don't do zip ties. Zip ties, you do it right, it can be fine, but you gotta change things down the road, it's not fine. You're gonna cut things. You're gonna do it. It's gonna happen. I have cut things before. I haven't cut anything from my gaming stuff, this stuff, but in the past when I was doing my own, like all the digital stuff, like the home theater system I have and all that stuff, I snipped right through the power cable for one of my Ethernet switches, and I was like, no. So yeah, zip ties can be good. Don't overdo it with them, and then consider what may come down the road. Because if you think you're going to make changes or add more stuff, Velcro. Use Velcro. Pegboards also are a great backbone for wiring in general. I know that cork boards are also popular too. I considered that before thinking that I found, measurement-wise, I found these metal pegboards to be more compatible with this particular storage rack, which I didn't want to get rid of because it is very good. If anyone wants to know like the specifics of what I bought, I'll put it in the description of the video. All that'll be in there. All the relevant stuff will be in there, so feel free to check it out. Also, join the Retro Boost Discord server. We talk about this stuff all the time in there. I try to keep people like up to date with like, hey, I'm working on this, and here's this progress, and here's these screenshots. And also, we talk about movies and TV shows and memes and all kinds of fun stuff. So check it out. It's links in the description for that as well. Thank you so much for watching. Hope this was helpful, informative, inspiring. Tell me what your setups are like and what you use. I really want to know, because it's this stuff, like some of it was me learning, like, okay, I gotta figure out a better HDMI thing. But I never would have known really how good 8BitDo could be for my purposes if someone didn't tell me about it. So tell me about what you like, because it's cool. I like this to be an information exchange. That's the whole point. I like to highlight these products because they're cool as hell, and I like to learn things. So teach me. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.